Oh boy. I chose Wix for my business because of its massive scope for functionality. Being able to integrate and develop at my own pace. Nox, please don't start. Okay, so today is a crazy day. While I was doing my work today, my spirit felt off. And I find out that today, by the way, I put a little note up here. If people get kicked out of my live, I am not the one taking people out of my lives. I've gotten a message before about being taken out the live, etc., etc. You guys can check out my YouTube. As a matter of fact, let me just put the YouTube up. So anyways, as I was saying, today felt off in my spirit for whatever reason as I was working. And sometimes I don't know if it's like just distractive energy or whatnot. Excuse me. So I just kept like looking at different things, like updating my YouTube channel, etc. And it turns out today is the anniversary, January 23rd, of when John Ferreira announced that he's gonna close his shop, his repair shop, Automotive Techniques, in Etobicoke. I have the address posted everywhere, but you can find it on Google. You can find his picture on YouTube, whatever the case is. It was last January that I was making reports. It was early in January that I made reports to the RCMP, and Canada Border Services and some other agencies as well, like proper formal reports. And today is January 23rd, 2024. So it is literally a year to the day of when I first started making reports. What is absolutely asinine to me is that of all the reports I've made and of all the people who've gone around and who've said that they've been gang stalked, who've said that things have happened to them and nothing happened, I actually have a name of an individual. I have their picture. I know where their business is or was. I have, their phone number, all kinds of information that I've gone ahead and I've given to the police and they've done nothing. And I've continued to make reports and they've done nothing. So it's very obvious that they're complicit. They're dirty. They're freaking dirty and their hands are in whatever the hell this is, which is no surprise. I'm sure everybody in the drug trade knows that. And I'm sure that's the reason why so many people are stuck in this kind of lifestyle, is obviously because the police won't do anything. No one is going to help, So it's taken a year and I've had to endure abuse for an entire year to get to this point. I've had to wait for relationships to sever, for confusion to start in this man's life. I've had to wait for things to fall apart for him in order to get to this point here today, a year later. It's ridiculous. It's crazy what normal person can survive a full year of this kind of abuse. What normal person can truly survive that? Now, in these types of situations, you really have to you got to think a lot about what's going on. So one thing that I've done is I've expressed my beliefs, which I don't think my beliefs are that controversial personally, because on the internet, there's so much of this stuff and it's not very far from, well, actually it's the same as a lot of people believe. A lot of people are spiritual, like a lot. But you know how people think. So I wouldn't put it past anyone, especially in any court situation, to be like, oh, well, you know, what she thinks is kind of strange and is kind of different and whatever. So I'm literally sitting here and I'm waiting for somebody to try to tell me what I believe is odd, when people believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross and rose in 3 days, and there's people that will battle for that with their life. So, you know, this is what they were trying to wait to say, like, oh, this person believes in this and that, and, you know, she's not okay, and blah, 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 blah. I've been making reports to the police for so long. I've been I've been documenting, I've been contacting so many places. Anytime I feel like the reports are drug related, they do not get taken seriously. That's just how I feel. I and it's not just how I feel, it's just like it's how it is. Because I'm not the first person that has gone to the police and has said, I'm being recruited. There's an obvious reason why people are scared and they get on the plane and they do what they do. And it's been and so much so that you can literally Google it and see it in articles where people are saying, I literally was bullied on my job. I was threatened by other people. What have people said? People have said they've been bullied. People have said that they've been threatened. People have said that, you know, they threatened their family, like all kinds of things that they've said that have happened. Now, on top of that, in my particular situation, I feel like so many people in Toronto knew from so many different walks of life. It wasn't just like, oh, just like the urban community or the Black community or whatever. It's like all over, like every culture, every demographic, a whole bunch of neighborhoods, like all over. People have been basically involved. I guess, you know, and thinking about it now, I guess that's the reason why he felt like he wanted to gang stalk me even harder and bully me even harder, is because his business, he had to shut down his business as I was making reports. Because I reported him to the RCMP and I gave them everything. I gave them screenshots of him, his face, people's names, all kinds of things. And it's the report that I have now is like way longer than it's ever been. So, you know, for me, I'm just sitting here, and the other thing too is, I know people have gone through this and have just not like sat down with the situation, like they just haven't stayed in long enough for for them to notice a lot of things. Like I told this story before about this guy who ended up becoming a truck driver. His name is Alvin Newton, by the way. He was a family friend back in the day. Um, and prior to that, I only ever knew him to be a person who, like, they would start little businesses. Like, he tried to start a little agency with his girlfriend at the time, um, working odd jobs here and there, like any normal person. And then he went into trucking. Obviously, he heard about the money. And then they started gang stalking him. And I don't know his personal story because I can't tell anybody one way or the other how it went. I don't know if he agreed to do it first and then something happened and then he started getting gang stalked, or I don't know how it went because he never told me like the full details. But I realized from a bunch of the things that happened to me and a bunch of the things that was going on with him at the time, that obviously he had been gang stalked at some point, because he was scared. And he's a man, he's a grown man, and he was scared. And I remember he was like trying to hide out and lay low and whatnot. And it's those kind of things like that I remember from the past that make me realize, like, people know what's going on. This is like a regular thing. This is not like something that I have to sit here and convince people is happening to me. And that's the thing in the beginning where people gaslight you, the police in particular, and they're like, no, nothing's going on. Like, no one's following you. It's like, Everybody knows that. They started using my own customers to come to the store to follow me. They started using my own family and friends and my own personal network to try to get close to me and to try to get me to like agree to sell drugs. Oh, let's go. Like my ex contacting me like, oh, do I want to go to Europe? Like just like weird things constantly, just constantly hounding me, constantly like random people. Like now it's like, I've talked about this before, on the 10th of January, starting from like, I don't even know, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, random people wishing me Happy New Year's. Random people wishing me Happy New Year's when New Year's was on December 31st to January 1st. And it'd be like, when I say random, I mean like the person who tried to sell me an ad in a magazine. And I have to be like, and he messages me at some odd hour and I'm like, thanks for your time. You know, we don't need an ad. Oh, I'm just saying Happy New Year's. For fucking what? Where do I know you from? It's like this kind of stuff where it's like, because they don't have contact with me in the way that they want to, because I no longer trust anyone, because that's what happens when you're being gang stalked. And so many, it's like they just have to get into your energy, into your space with whoever. If that's the mailman that all of a sudden wants to have long conversations with you, or like the little Chinese old man that's just standing in your face that doesn't know what to say but wants to keep the conversation going, and it's like just weird stuff constantly. And I'm very happy that this is such a drug heavy city, that everybody knows well enough to know that this is nothing crazy. This is not an outlandish story. In the beginning, I used to think that maybe they're lying to people that are following me, saying, oh, I owe them money, or, you know, maybe my ex owed them money and they're keeping an eye on me, or whatever the case is. But it's like, you know what? Maybe they did say that. Maybe that is one of the things that they said, because I spoke to another girl that went through this, and she said that she actually had to go to court to defend herself, that she wasn't selling drugs from her apartment. So that's what they said about her. And they did all of that because they were gang stalking her so she could get out of the location that she had her business in. Like the landlords wanted her out. I've also heard stories from realtors that builders do this too. Builders hire gang stalkers, where if there's a bunch of houses and everybody else has sold their property, but the one particular homeowner hasn't sold their property, then they'll gang stalk that homeowner until they agree to either abandon the property or leave. I've heard people gang stalking people when they've put like an offer on the house and they put like a deposit, and then they want the person to run away from the deposit, just leave it and go. So there have been so many situations where I've heard about people being gang stalked, but it's like, it's one of those things where they pay everybody down the line. Like they have social workers that say, you know, that start pressuring you all of a sudden. It's like they're coaching your children to say that you're abusing the kids. Thank God I do not have kids that age, because through the year and a half I would have definitely had issues with social workers and my kids for sure. Those people are so dirty. Everybody knows about it. Like they've been complaining about these people so hard, and they always target black people. It's always black people all the time. On top of social workers, mental health therapists, or just mental health professionals, you'll see some girl who's obviously a working girl with her bio saying mental health advocate. If you were mentally okay, see, and this is what, listen, sometimes you gotta offend people for the truth to be the truth. If you were mentally sound, you wouldn't be selling your body to survive. Something went wrong somewhere, and something continues to be wrong that you're even in that profession. This is human trafficking. So what do you mean, whether self-directed or not? So what do you mean you're a mental health advocate? You see all these random people with mental health advocate in their bio, and there's nothing mental health related in their posts in anything that they're about and anything that they're doing. One of their biggest strategies is always to make the victim look crazy, to isolate them, and then to gang stalk them and provoke them to act out in such a way to lash out, so that people think this person is unwell, so that you can just be in public pointing to random strangers and be like, oh, people are following me, this and that, and they'll be like, oh, this person's not unwell, or this person's unwell. They told the police that I'm not doing okay, or I haven't recovered from a breakup to an ex. I'm a grown woman. Regardless of how I feel about anybody, man, woman, or child, I don't need to be mentally unwell from a breakup. I have a job to do. I have a business. I have children, and that is my priority. There's no way I'm going to wake up incapacitated to the point that I cannot, over a breakup, that I cannot handle my business, that I cannot take care of my family, that I cannot take care of my finances, that I cannot do what I need to do. Thank God I was working in a public mall and negotiating with professionals, and in that time handling so much business, just activities in general that take someone to really be, very keen and very aware, for no one to say, oh, she couldn't handle herself or she couldn't handle her business. It's crazy to me that someone can continue to complain about the same thing over and over and over again and be ignored. And people, including the police, including the judicial system, can behave like it's not actually happening. And for someone to sit there and to endure this abuse over and over and over again, to have people following you everywhere and trying to intimidate you every single day, and for it to go on so long that I'm not even fazed by it anymore, that I'm not even scared of it anymore, that I can brush it aside and go about my day. And how many times have I reported this to Vaughan Police and nothing has come of it? How many times have I reported it to the RCMP for nothing to come of it? It's crazy that this is the reason why people hop on planes every day and travel with drugs and nothing happens. And the odd time that somebody's found or somebody's found guilty, they make all these shows about, oh, people who are drug mules and this and that. Why don't they make shows about the fact that people are bullied into that life, and the fact that when somebody's already in that life, they can't come out? So people make deals with people to do this so-called voluntarily. They make deals to do this shit with people. And then when they realize like this is not what it's cracked up to be, they can't come out. They get gang stalked. Or they're the ones that end up getting caught. They're the ones that end up getting caught because of the same dirty police. That's why every time somebody gets caught with drugs on social media, somebody's in the comments saying somebody had to have snitched. Because everybody in that lifestyle knows nobody gets caught. If they want it to come through, it's going to come through. They always say, oh, somebody had to snitch. I think the person that snitches is people like John Ferreira, the recruiters and the gang stalkers. I think that's who snitches. I think with the dirty police that he has in his pocket, when they're ready to discard you, get you thrown in jail or do whatever, it's John Ferreira that does that. I think John Ferreira snitches on all kinds of people. I think it's those kinds of people that put people away. Is people like John Ferreira. That's what I think. I think he's a thief. I think he does all kinds of frauds and scams. I think he steals people's money. I think he's a witch doctor. I think a lot of things of him, and for just cause and with due reason. My whole YouTube is plastered with his picture, with everything around about him. He has all my stuff hacked. He's bribed so many people in my life, and it has been ridiculous. It has been ridiculous. He's gone on a smear campaign about me and my business. He's lied. And I'm so happy that he took his lying ways to the cartel and he's lied to them, wasted their money, and not been able to produce. That's classic karma. So he'll have hell to pay for that. At a very minimum, I know I can sleep good at night to know that if the police do nothing and nothing else happens, that his life is forever destroyed. He can never open up another business. He can never have another business. He can never do business because he doesn't know the next person he talks to, if this person is from the cartel and if they're looking for him and if they're going to finger him and riddle him with bullets. And I also know that that is going to affect his relationships with the dirty police that he works with because he doesn't have money. Because police also have prostitute energy just like him. So he should know how it goes. Everybody's pay for play. There's no loyalty. There's no brotherhood. It's pay for play. And if he doesn't have money to pay off the lawyers, pay off the corrupt police, pay off the prosecutors, and pay off the judges, he's going to have hell to pay. So maybe it did have to take a year to get him completely bankrupt so we could get where we are today, where he does not have money to pay anyone and he can't trust anyone and he has to look over his shoulders like I did. The chief gang stalker now gets to understand what it feels like to be gang stalked. So, today's January 23rd. I invite them to come on live. Send a request to come live. Let's talk today. I'm ready to talk now. All the requests that you were highly triggered. Everybody was highly triggered and wanted to send requests to be on the live. You could go ahead and be on live today. I'll stay on live and I'll wait and I'll see when the request comes in. Let's talk. That's the reality and that's the truth. And I don't need readings to know that. I don't need anything to know that. Your balls are nailed to the wall right now. Or to the floor, better yet. I don't need psychic abilities to know that if it was drug related, then who's going to deal with drugs? It's gang and street activity, clearly. If it's not cartel, then it's something else. But it's probably cartel. If we're talking about Brazil, Colombia, DR, all of that in the Latin network, that's probably what it is. So they're crazy. They're crazy. They don't play about any of that stuff. They're not going to let anything go. So I already know that's who he owes. And I already know since he didn't get the job done that it is going to be a problem. And if there's one thing that I am going to make sure of is that he's never going to get the job done. And as a matter of fact, even if I wasn't strong enough to make sure he didn't get the job done, my ancestors are not going to let that job be done. Because it's been a long time coming. Everything that people put me through, they have to face themselves. And I always knew you were going to be gang stalked, whether it be by demons or in real life. You got a double dose. I don't really care. Listen, I really don't care if people believe what I believe. It's not hard to make people believe what I believe. But it's not for me to entertain stupidity all the time. People could say what they need to say. I'm not a person who likes to bully people. I'm not a person who likes to be like, oh, you don't believe? Let me send some work your way. Let me do this and that. No, I don't have to do that. Because people are allowed to just not believe what you say. People are allowed to have their opinions. And people are allowed to not agree with people. People don't get bullied for nonsense, for using their mouth and for doing stuff like that. People have to learn that. To let people have their freedom. Because not just because you can do something means that you should do something. It should take a lot to move you, to move against people. That's the point. That's the point. That's the point that we're learning here. That's why the assassin for hire is being assassinated publicly in slow motion. And I understand the reason things are moving at the pace that they are. And I understand the reason why things are happening that the way they are. Not to say that I don't get impatient, not to say that I don't get irritated with the process, because every time I have to think about it and hear about it, I'm thinking to myself, what is this hell that I've been subjected to? But in my heart, I know the reason things have to go this way. John Ferreira, and I don't know if, what's her name again? Melissa, what's her last name? Mancuso or whatever. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. It's in all the reports. I'll have all the screenshots, whatever. Whatever her name is. I don't know if it's the two of them that work together, that do what they do together, that spiritually attack people and all of this other stuff. These are my religious beliefs, and no one will persecute me, especially not in a big country like this, for what I believe spiritually, whether I be the only person who believes it or whether millions of people believe it or not. So if that was going to be an angle, you could cut that out right now. I am way too intelligent to play these kind of games with me. But if that's what, these two people are doing, people know. People have the exact same story of the exact same things happening over and over and over and over again. There are so many witnesses that when this goes public, they already know how bad this is going to be. People will finally get an opportunity to tell their story. The crooked reporters that never took action, the police, the government officials, the judges, all of the people that have the information that know what's going on, and leave people in these situations where they don't help people when people's lives are being torn to shreds. It's January 23rd and it's a year from the first RCMP report. Well, I think I started making those reports early in January. And it's now a year later. And his life is nowhere better or has not returned to normal despite abusing me for a year and a half. Despite abusing me from a year since the first report. Life has only gotten worse. And there's no resources to continue the job. They're scraping by. And it's not working. The point of gang stalking is to intimidate someone. I am not even remotely intimidated. It's a complete waste of time. But they have to do it because they have to do something. They have to do something. It's crazy. Every day, I have to come on here and make lives on my business page. And post on my business page. My business is being affected. And there are other people, but John Ferreira is the main one who wanted revenge. Who wants revenge. Who feels triggered by me. The main one. Obsessed with me. Had to close down his business. His front business. So if you have no business front, how have you been eating for the past year? The criminal. The career criminal. And I'm sure if this person was a normal person, that they would have already tried to take me to court for slander and this and that. But he can't. As a matter of fact, I wish to God he would. Every day I say to myself, whether I'm in the car, I'm like, why doesn't he just sue me for slander? Why doesn't somebody get the ball rolling? Get the ball rolling on the court case. Tell someone that I'm lying. Send me some court papers that I'm lying, that I'm making it up. Do something about it, because I have your pictures and all your information on my YouTube. If I'm a liar, you got to do something about it. People can't just let people get away with ruining their reputation, especially if they're lying, right? But this is where we are. I find it to be insane, and I find it to be criminal that the police let people go through this. I find that to be nuts. And I would love for it to be uncovered how much they're getting paid and what they're doing this for. Because obviously they are. I feel like in Vaughan, I feel like York police, the majority of York police are crooked. The majority. And I feel like the ones that are not just try to keep themselves out of it. They try to like pull themselves out of whatever it is. They just want no involvement. But I think people know. I think people know. So am I frustrated? Am I annoyed that I have to sit through this nonsense? Yes. Am I scared? No. Not of any of them. Not of the cartel, not of none of them. I'm not afraid of any of them, quite frankly. To be honest. I feel like they're afraid of me for varying reasons. But I think the witch doctor knows exactly why he's afraid of me. As he should be. So, we know where it's going. We know where it's going. I'm annoyed that I have to wait it out. You know, I would have loved for it to happen last year when I made the report. But it is what it is. Whatever the reason is, it is what it is. It's not like I don't know why. And you know, far be it from me to ask God when things are going to happen or how things are going to happen. I never have. And I've never had to be more patient in a situation before, to be honest with you. But you know what? I know that when it finally does, it will be worth it. It will be worth it. I'm going to post this video to my stories or a clip of it with my YouTube. But it's so crazy that a year later, no one's done anything. And I don't think it takes a year to gang stalk anyone to be a drug mule. I think this is just to torture me. And I think this is just to drag things on or to try to teach me some type of lesson. And the only person who's learned a lesson is him. He hasn't even learned anything. In his mind, he still thinks there's a possibility because of his ego and his prejudice and his racism, that he still thinks that there's no way that this is going to happen. Even though he has no money, and even though he has those people hunting him down, and even though he has my ancestors on his ass, he still is in a state of self-imposed delusion. I'm going to leave it here. You know, I just thank God because, you know, in the beginning it was like I felt the need, like I had to convince people that this was happening. And I thank God that I came to the conclusion that there's no need to convince anyone because people know what's going on. People have heard about it and people are talking about it. And if they're not yet talking about it, they will be talking about it. They will be dragging his name up and down. And people will be looking for him everywhere, for all of them, because they owe people money. So it doesn't matter how many people they take out of the live. I said it months ago. I said it last year. Didn't I say? I said ABC, NBC, CBC, CNN, Netflix, all the networks. I said it. I said it. I'm very happy when everything I say comes out in the readings so people understand just what type of situation that they're in, since they feel bold. Every time they feel bold, so they understand what type of situation they're in. I'm going to leave it here. And I promise I'm going to see these people in a courtroom if it's the last thing that I do. But it will not be the last thing that I do. I promise I will see these people in a courtroom, and I promise that you will unhand what you have that belongs to me. There is absolutely no way you will not. I know that much.